The 1978 D Lincoln penny, if it has the right minting error, can turn an average collector or even an unsuspecting finder into a millionaire overnight. So stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll know exactly what makes this coin so special, what to look for, and why this humble penny from Denver has become a treasure hunt that still excites collectors around the world. Let's rewind to 1978, a year filled with energy, change, and American pride. Jimmy Carter was president, disco ruled the dance floors, and the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing billions of Lincoln pennies. The design of the penny, originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, had long been an American classic, showing Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse, and the majestic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, symbolizing unity and freedom. One of the rarest and most astonishing 1978 D Lincoln penny errors is the off-metal strike. That's when the penny is accidentally struck on the wrong metal blank. Instead of the usual copper-plated zinc or bronze planchet, some 1978 D pennies were struck on dime or foreign coin planchets. Imagine finding a penny that's smaller, thinner, or even silvery in color. That's not fake, it's an actual mint error worth a fortune. For example, a penny struck on a dime planchet sold for over $20,000. Another struck on a foreign planchet, lighter and slightly smaller, fetched $35,000. And there's a famous story of a collector who found a silvery-looking 1978 D penny that turned out to be struck on an experimental aluminum planchet, a piece now valued at more than $250,000. Another remarkable 1978 D error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned under the die, causing the design to appear off-center. Depending on how far off the design is, these can range in value from a few $100s for minor shifts to $5,000 to $10,000 for dramatic ones, showing a large blank crescent while still displaying the full date and mint mark. The rarer the off-center error with visible 1978, the higher the value. There's also a variety of 1978 D broad strike and uniface errors, coins that were struck without the retaining collar, causing them to spread out and lose their typical rim, or coins struck with only one side showing a design. These rare minting blunders are striking to look at and have sold for $2,000 to $8,000 in recent years, especially in uncirculated condition. Let's not forget condition. Like all coins, the value of a 1978 D era penny depends heavily on its grade. Coins that are still shiny and free of scratches, with original red luster, command the highest prices. Collectors use grading services like PCGS and NGC to authenticate and grade these coins. A coin graded MS65 or higher can easily double or triple its value compared to one that's circulated. The 1976 D era Lincoln penny, a coin so mysterious and valuable that collectors around the world are constantly searching for it. And in this video, we're going to uncover its incredible story, why it's so rare, what errors make it worth life-changing money, and how to identify one that could make you rich beyond your wildest imagination. Let's start with a bit of history. The year 1976 was one of the most patriotic years in American history, the year of the United States bicentennial, celebrating 200 years of freedom. The country was in full celebration mode, and the U.S. Mint was busy producing special commemorative coins to mark the occasion, including the famous bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins with their dual 1776 to 1976 dates. But while all the attention was on those special coins, the Lincoln penny quietly continued production, and hidden among the billions of ordinary 1976 pennies, a few incredible Denver Mint errors were struck that would later stun collectors and auction houses alike. But the Double Die isn't the only superstar in this series. Another fascinating and valuable variety is the 1976 D off-center strike, where the coin design is misaligned during minting, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent on one side. The more off-center the strike while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. Some of these off-center 1976 D pennies have sold for $5,000 to $10,000, and a few nearly 50% off-center examples have crossed $15,000 at auction. Then, there's the even rarer struck on a dime planchet, a mind-blowing minting mistake where the penny was accidentally struck on a silver-colored dime blank instead of a copper one. This results in a lighter, silvery coin that's smaller and thinner than a normal penny but still shows the penny's design. These incredible transitional errors have brought $20,000 to $40,000 or more at major coin auctions. And then there's one of the rarest, the uniface strike, where only one side of the coin is struck while the other remains completely blank or partially struck. These are among the most visually dramatic mint errors, and collectors love them. Values range from $10,000 to $25,000, depending on the condition and how clean the strike appears. If you find anything unusual, don't clean or polish the coin. Cleaning damages the surface and destroys the value instantly. Instead, place it carefully in a soft holder or coin flip and take it to a professional coin dealer or a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate and grade it for you, and if it turns out to be one of the rare varieties, you might just have a fortune in your hand. The story of the 1969 Lincoln penny is one of mystery, error, and massive value. It's a coin that has become a legend in the world of numismatics, and not just because it's old, but because of a very specific and rare mistake that the U.S. Mint made during production. Before we dive into how this error happened, let's take a quick journey back to the late 1960s, a time of great change in America. The year 1969 was filled with historical moments. Neil Armstrong was preparing for the moon landing, Woodstock was making headlines, and Americans were experiencing a decade of social and cultural transformation. Amid all that, the U.S. Mint in San Francisco was busy striking millions of pennies with the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. On the surface, these coins looked ordinary, the same portrait, the same copper shine, the same small denomination. But among those millions, a tiny handful contained one of the most incredible minting errors ever discovered, the 1969 Double Die Obverse Lincoln cent. The 1969 Double Die Lincoln penny shows this doubling very clearly, and that's exactly what makes it so valuable. If you look closely at the words Liberty, you'll see a strong, dramatic doubling that almost looks like a shadow of the letters. Even the date, 1969, appears doubled, giving the coin a 3D effect that instantly stands out under magnification. Back in 2008, one of these rare 1969 Double Die pennies sold for a staggering $126,500 at auction. Another in top mint state condition sold for $54,625, and yet another fetched over $100,000. But those are older sales, and as time has passed, these coins have become even rarer and more valuable. Today, a 1969 Double Die in near-perfect condition can easily reach $200,000 to $350,000, and in pristine, uncirculated mint state condition, it can even push close to $500,000 or more. Some experts suggest that if a perfect, top-graded example ever surfaces, it could cross the $1 million mark, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Second, condition. Like with all coins, the better the condition, the higher the value. A circulated coin might still be worth tens of thousands, but an uncirculated one that looks nearly brand new is where the big money lies. These coins are usually graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, with grades such as MS65 or MS66 fetching those record-breaking prices. In fact, one of the most famous finds came from a man who simply collected pennies from circulation in the 1970s. When experts later examined his collection, they discovered a genuine 1969 Double Die which went on to sell for tens of thousands of dollars. That's why this coin continues to capture the imagination of collectors. It's a modern-day treasure hunt. What if I told you that a simple-looking 1968 era Lincoln penny, yes, that tiny coin you might have overlooked 100 times and in the rarest cases, potentially millions, sounds unbelievable, right? But it's true. Hidden among the billions of 1968 pennies minted, there are a handful of rare pennies that have turned ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasures. Stay with me till the end, because by the time we're done, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Let's begin with a bit of history, because understanding how this coin came to be makes its story even more incredible. The year 1968 marked a turning point for U.S. coinage. After a 3-year gap when the U.S. Mint stopped producing proof coins to combat coin shortages, 1968 was the year proof sets made their grand return, this time struck at the San Francisco Mint, proudly bearing the S Mint mark. Meanwhile, regular circulation pennies were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, creating a wide range of varieties. When collectors discovered this variety, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. A strong double die penny in top condition can sell for $10,000 to $30,000, depending on its grade. But if you find one in pristine, high mint state or proof-like condition, say, graded PR 67 or higher, the value can soar to $40,000 or more. Now, let's talk about another jaw-dropping discovery: the struck on a dime planchet. Imagine finding a penny that's silver in color because it was accidentally struck on a copper nickel dime blank instead of a copper penny blank. These dramatic wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare, and when authenticated by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, they can bring $15,000 to $50,000 at auction. Then we have the off-center strike, another spectacular error that turns heads every time one appears at auction. If a penny was struck when the blank wasn't properly aligned between the dies, part of the design could end up off the coin, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, especially if Lincoln's full date and part of his face are still visible, the higher the value. Some extreme examples have sold for $5,000 to $10,000 or more, depending on how far off-center the strike is and its overall condition. What if I told you that a plain-looking 1964 SMS Lincoln penny could actually be one of the rarest and most mysterious coins in U.S. history, so rare that fewer than a dozen are known to exist? Stick with me until the end, because this story of the special mint set Lincoln penny, known simply as the, is one that has stunned collectors, historians, and even experts at the U.S. Mint for decades. To understand the 1964 SMS Lincoln penny, we have to step back to the early 1960s, a time when the U.S. Mint was struggling to meet the massive demand for coins. In 1964, the Mint was busy transitioning from the proof coinage of earlier years to a new type of finish known as the Special Mint Set, or SMS. These coins were supposed to appear starting in 1965. But somehow, a handful of 1964 dated coins were struck using the same unique process that would later define those SMS sets. Fast forward to the 1990s, when these coins suddenly appeared on the numismatic scene, shocking collectors everywhere. When the first examples were authenticated by the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, and Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, the coin community realized they were witnessing something truly extraordinary. In 2019, a 1964 SMS Lincoln penny graded SP67 by PCGS sold for an astonishing $156,000 at auction. Another in similar condition fetched over $150,000 shortly after. And today, top experts believe that if a pristine example were to appear in an even higher grade, say SP68 or better, it could easily surpass $200,000, possibly even push into the $1 million range if a bidding war erupted between high-end collectors. For example, one collector in the early 2000s reportedly bought what he thought was a normal 1964 penny in a small coin lot. When he submitted it to PCGS, it came back as a verified 1964 SMS specimen, later selling for over $100,000. That one coin changed his life forever. Every coin collector dreams of a find like that, a simple penny that turns into a six-figure fortune. And that's what makes this story so irresistible.